Yo, it's your Barbie Can. I'm building, and if you're watching this, it's because you're not a P. Man, I'm excited to talk about this specific placement. We are going to be talking about Pluto in the what? Fourth house. What zodiac sign rules the fourth house? Cancer. What is Cancer ruled by? The moon. The moon represents the motherly energy, the nurturing energy. The fourth house represents family, tradition, generations, things of that nature, right? Number one, I want to start by saying that if you have this particular placement, that there is a high probability that you grew up in a household that was either that was unstable in some form or fashion, right? Because again, fourth house deals with home, family life, traditions, and things of that nature. Pluto deals with obsessions. It deals with things breaking down and coming back up, death and rebirth, right? It deals with the darkness. A lot of times that human beings, of course, shy away from facing. You know what I mean? So you probably grew up with instability in your home. You maybe grew up at odds with your mother, because again, the moon rules Cancer. So maybe you had a unstable relationship with your caregiver, whoever was the more feminine caregiver, right? Now, that is not limited to just the mother, but by and large, probably had negative emotions stemming from the mother or the motherly energy of that home. Maybe for example, you were put into foster care, right? Things happen in your household that caused you to be pulled away from your family. You know what I mean? Whether it was abuse from your mother, your father figure, or both, or whoever was your caretaker at that time, right? So you grow up with these toxic dynamics within your household, and then you get older, and then you believe that on some level, whether this is consciously or consciously, that you have to have control over wherever your household is, right? Now, that's not necessarily a negative or a positive thing, right? It could go either way. It just depends on how aware you are of the trauma that you faced in your life, right? Because we've all faced trauma. But with this specific placement, if you have Pluto in the fourth house, you have to kind of look at the way you deal with the people within your home, right? Your children, your significant other. You have to place more awareness on how you, or become more aware of how you deal with them, right? Because you dealt with so much darkness in your lifetime, more than likely, you may come off a little bit overbearing sometimes. Because remember, Pluto is about control. It's about obsession. It's about darkness. It's about things we don't want to talk about. It's about taboos, right? You may be, if you're on the lower spectrum, right? The more 3D version of this placement, right? The lower end. I say the lower end. If you're on the lower end of this placement, right, and you lack awareness, you may have become close to that same person that caused you a lot of trauma in your childhood, right? Or those same people that caused you a lot of trauma in your childhood. So it's just being aware, right? Though it can become dark, right? And you can be on that lower spectrum. You can be on that higher spectrum, or you can oscillate between both of them, depending on, again, how aware you are. So on the higher spectrum, you could see that, hey, the way I lived when I was a child, I don't want my children to ever experience that. You know what I mean? So I am going to put certain things in, I'm going to set certain things in stone, so my children can have the life that I didn't have, whether it dealt with money, whether it dealt with nurturing, which more than likely it deals with nurturing, the nurturing that you received. There was a lack of nurturing, lack of stability, lack of attention that a child needs. So as a child, you're a sponge. You look at your parents like they're God, right? Everything they do, you're hyper attuned to, right? Because that's your only reference of whether you are good or not. And that's why when you grow up and you have these things, these needs that are unmet, that's why you meet other people who bring those things up in you, right? To trigger you, right? So you can see those things and be like, oh, you know what, man? Now it ain't always like calm and you like, oh, you know what? You know, if you have the awareness, but a lot of times it's intense, especially these experiences. Like say, for example, you have, you meet somebody, right? You guys hit it off. Soulmates, right? You guys have a family, right? If you're not careful, right? If you're not careful, you can come off a little bit too overbearing even to your partner. Maybe you may allow your trauma, the trauma that you've experienced, to cause you to be a little bit obsessive over what you view is the right way to discipline your kids, what you view is the right way to, I don't know, for them to do chores, something as small as that, right? And that could cause a rift between you and your partner, right? Or it can cause a rift between you and your children. And then again, like I just said a little bit ago, you can perpetuate the same cycles if you're not careful. This is like the thing when I was talking about in my Pluto in the 7th house video, right? Pluto in the 7th house. 7th house is ruled by Libras, is ruled by partnerships and things of that nature, relationships, right? And these are one of those placements that this is one of those placements that is tough. It's really tough to have, you know, in your chart. Unless there are other factors that kind of, you know, make this a little bit less, you know, intense for you. But by and large, even if you have things that other things in your chart that make this a little bit less intense, it's going to be an intense situation for you, right? But you can come out of this in a peaceful state. You know what I mean? You can work with this placement to create heaven in your household, right? Heaven in your environment, in your immediate environment, or wherever you call home. You know what I mean? So again, you can create odds. You can cause yourself to be at odds with your children, just because you're being a little bit too obsessive. You're trying to be a little bit overprotective because you weren't protected when you were a child. You're trying to be a little bit not condescending, but you're a little bit. You can become a control freak. You can become a person who you're not even noticing it if you're unconscious, right? You're just so bent on your household being a place of safety and a place of homeliness that you may push away the very people that you want to protect. You know what I mean? So that's a tough thing I realized when doing my research on this placement. I think the biggest thing when it comes to people, Pluto in the 4th house, is to establish those traditions, establish those things that you want in stone for your household and for yourself and your family, your home environment. However, understand that no matter what you do with this placement, you are going to run into intense experiences, right, that are going to challenge you. Even if you're doing everything right, even if you do lead your children in the way that they should be led, and you're calm, you're peaceful, you allow them to be their own people, you have strict but fair rules, you are going to encounter intense experiences, transformative experiences, right? But they're all for your good. And when I say you're going to encounter intense experiences, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be all negative, right? Say, for example, it could be a situation to where you may have to deal with a child that is going against societal expectations. You know what I mean? And that can go in all realms. I ain't going to go too deep into that, but Pluto deals with the taboo as well. So this child may want to experiment with certain things, experiment with different genders, you have to be an open-minded person. This is not the same case for everybody with this placement, but these are just small examples. You may have to deal with that. And I ain't going to say deal with that. You may have to choose to transform through that, because your children are not you. You may have created that household for them to be at peace, to be their own people, right? Ideally, you created that because what you went through. But once you really see that, you may feel like you may be losing some sort of control. And it doesn't make you a bad person. It's just you dealt with trauma. You dealt with some toxic things in the past, right? And you want to control your household, and you want to be the person who is making the rules. You want to be the person who is the leader, simply, right? Even if you are a person, again, who has lighter placements, you're still going to have this. If it's not brought to your awareness, it's going to be an unconscious thing, and your family members are going to feel it. Your family members, when they come over to visit, they're going to feel that energy of you just being a little bit too tense. You know what I mean? So it's just about being aware and just understanding that everybody is not out to. You got to release control. Pluto is all about control, and it's all about releasing control. You have to die to the old self that you are, and you have to rebirth something else. So this is not a video to attack you and say, oh, you're terrible and this, that, and the third, or you need to calm down. You do need to calm down to a certain extent. That's about you being aware. this is a video letting you know that to just be conscious of what you're doing. Be cognizant of what you're doing. You know what I mean? It's okay to have rules. It's okay to have regulations. It's okay to have things that are absolute deal breakers in your household, right? Things that you're not going to bend on. That's law, and that should be law. You know what I mean? However, there is a point where it can become, you can get a little bit overly, just catch yourself when you get a little bit too tense, when you feel like the rug is being pulled, is going to get pulled underneath you at any moment. You know what I mean? Just because something happened that you didn't anticipate in your household. You know what I mean? Things of that nature, right? So just understand that it's okay to be vulnerable too. Be vulnerable with your people. Be vulnerable with whoever you choose to call your family, right? It might not be your blood, but whoever you choose to call your family, be vulnerable with them. If they love you for real, they're gonna understand where you're coming from, or at least attempt to understand where you're coming from. And then you guys can kind of find an equilibrium from there. You know what I mean? But the biggest thing with Pluto, no matter what house it touches, no matter what placement is involved, whatever it is, right? Pluto wants you to release. It wants you to die to whatever that is. This is the thing. And this is the thing with Pluto. I'm going to make another video about, I'm going to keep on making these videos about Pluto and its effect on you, right? When it comes to Pluto, you have to understand this. You can't control plutonic energy. You can't control it. In the sense of you trying to get away from Pluto's power. You can't. So with me saying that, it's like this, right? Pluto energy, and essentially is the energy that it affects a broad spectrum of people. You can't control something that's outside of you. That's just what it is. Pluto is that powerful. Only thing you can do is grab that water hose, and with the water being Pluto coming out as a jet stream. Only thing you can do is take that water hose and point it to where you are. Point it to where you not where you are, but where you want to point that energy to where you want it to work for you best at, right? You can point it to what works for you the worst, i.e. the lower energy, the lower octave of whatever placement you find yourself in. So, for example, Pluto in the 4th house, you can point it to being controlling, manipulative, obsessive in your household, wanting things your way, and becoming pretty much a tyrant, and essentially perpetuating the same dynamics that your family puts you through. You know what I'm saying? To your kids or whoever you are caretaking, right? That's that. And you do that, Pluto gonna go right with you. But at the same time, you can choose to go the other way. You can choose to be a dominant force, but a fair force that is extremely loving, but extremely understanding, aware, open-minded, and willing to be vulnerable and just be honest with themselves. Hey, I went through things in my life, and these things are impacting me in this way. Is it negative or is it positive? If it's negative, let's take a look at it and let's grow from that. You know what I mean? And being honest with your family members or whoever you consider to have your family. But this is the thing. Again, you can't control Pluto. Pluto is there to cause things to die and to be rebirthed. You can't control it. The only way you can control it is to take that water hose and allow it to shoot where you know it'll help you grow, right? A lot of people, because of the call to releasing that Pluto invokes in a person, especially if you have Pluto placements or wherever it hits your chart, a lot of people run away from it because it's tough. It's tough to face your long-held beliefs about what you think is the truth and realize that not necessarily what you believe is not the truth, but there are other truths out there other than yours. There are different perspectives. It's tough to release that and to be aware enough to even see that there's something wrong. You know what I mean? So you can't control Pluto, but what you can control is where you shoot that water hose at, where you shoot that water at. So choose where you want to shoot that water at. You want to shoot it. Choose to essentially be that force that you want to see in that world, in the world, right? So whatever placement you have, choose to allow that to choose to allow Pluto to see where your blind spots are, and to grow from them. Pluto in the 4th house, choose to see yourself as not the person who endured those things in your past. You're not your parents. You're not the experiences you had. Those are experiences that you had to grow. So on a higher octave of this placement is to whoever your family is, whatever your family life is, you show them the right way to treat people. You show them the right way to be a nurturing force. Show your children, or whatever you call your children, show them that real love is possible with your partner, your husband, your boyfriend, your whoever you call whoever your partner is. Show your children that it's possible to be in a loving relationship, be in a positive relationship, to be in your home should be a haven. It should be a safe haven. When your children come home, they should feel the energy. You know what I mean? If there's a lot of plutonic things going on, like arguing and a lot of strife and obsession and control, things of that nature, if children can feel that, right? You can feel that. Even if unaware, you can feel it on some level. We're all human beings. All of us are human beings, or spiritual beings having a human experience. Understand that. So everybody can feel it. Your children are even more susceptible to it, though. So just understand that. Understand that you have the potential to change, and you have the potential to make your household and all people who enter it feel welcome, whole, loved, appreciated, understood, and accepted. But you have to accept yourself first. You have to accept what happened to you in your childhood. What happened to you wasn't right. What your mom did was not right. What your dad did was not right. Whoever you called your mom and dad, whatever they did to you was not right. You're right. You know, but at the end of the day, people were just doing the best that they could. And I know this might be triggering, but they were just doing the best that they could with the knowledge, awareness, and consciousness that they had at that time. If they did do you wrong, you be better. Allow Pluto to change you for the better. You're not what happened to you. You're you. Now let's do it. Let's grow. I love you. Pluto in the 4th house. That's my take on it. Hope I helped you out. Hope I gave you some good nuggets. And I just want you to keep going. Keep going. Keep hustling. Allow Pluto to change you. Allow Pluto to make you a better person. It's not always easy. It's gonna be tough sometimes. Sometimes you're tired. Sometimes you don't wanna release and let go, because releasing and letting go would mean that you are it may cause an ego death. And it's tough. But you got what it takes. I love you so much. Keep going. Ooh wee.